The earth on its own is okay without us. We are not going to be okay without it. I have to say flooding for sure is one of the scariest concepts. Just when I just look at the open water and I look at the ocean, it can be amazing, but at the same time, with the way water moves, it can be unpredictable. When water moves, it moves fast. So if it was high tide or closer to high tide and we had to get away from the site, then we would have to move fast. I think it's something that you have to experience or like maybe watch videos on to see how much of an impact water has or just how powerful it can be when it's coming at you. And for sure, that is scary for me to think about. But I feel very hopeful when I think about some of the people who are working in this field to find ways in which we can adapt to these changing scenarios. I think there is an opportunity to place our resources more towards using nature as a way to solve some of our problems. Nature-based solutions are approaches to tackling climate change that harness nature to do the job it's meant to do: preserve life. Nature-based solutions can be as simple as allowing forests to regrow, restoring coastal wetlands, or switching to regenerative agricultural practices. A recent analysis estimated that nature-based solutions alone could provide over 1/3 of the carbon dioxide mitigation required to keep warming below 2 degrees Celsius between now and 2030. Take Milan, whose industrial economy means dirty air and sweltering summers. To combat this, they've invested in nature-based solutions like their vertical forest and tree library, the latter which alone absorbs an estimated 5 million tons of carbon dioxide annually. And given the city's commitment to planting 3 million trees by 2030, there's hope there. And it's not just carbon dioxide removal. Nature-based solutions can do so many amazing things for cities, especially when we get creative. For instance, Chinese architect Yu Kongjian has been developing flood-resistant urban environments that embrace the flow of water rather than fight it. By creating spaces for water to spread out, dissipate, and seep underground, the surrounding wetlands can be restored, flooding can be prevented, and excess water can be stored for droughts. He's essentially turning cities into giant, eco-friendly sponges. These features have already been rolled out successfully in 30 cities, and the government is hoping to do the same makeover on 80% of the country's urban areas by 2030. I forgot how beautiful this place is. Oh my gosh. Right now it's low tide, which is basically when the water is at its lowest level. So you can see all over there that that's where the water is going to be starting from. But when it's high tide, the water actually comes all the way up here and can reach some of these areas depending on the height of that tide. Low-lying coastal areas are extremely susceptible to flooding during storms, especially since climate change is intensifying their severity and causing sea levels to rise. When we talk about the urgency of coastal protection strategies, this is why. My research specifically looks at Sporobolus alterniflora in salt marshes along the Bay of Fundy. We found that within the first 10 meters, the presence of this coastal vegetation resulted in 60 to 80% reduction in the energy of incoming waves. Not only is that a promising result, it's thanks to a natural feature of the environment. It's entirely within our power to protect or even plant more of this vegetation to protect our coasts. Climate change, there's always going to be a lot of negative media, but there are change makers. And sometimes the real change makers are the people that we least expect. And sometimes they're the people who don't tweet about it. They're the people who don't write about it. They're the people who are in their communities and they're initiating change. So never lose hope of the fact that there is change and it is ongoing despite the current crisis. There's always going to be somebody who's doing things for the greater good. And that should inspire you to get up and do something for the greater good.